Hi, this is Texan In The UK's husband. Well, actually, no, that's Dave the dog, but anyway, that's another story. I'm here today having watched a good little video, which was a bit sad really, about Sean's Allotment Huddersfield. He suffered, as a lot of gardeners do, with the high winds recently. And for those of us who can't afford big solid greenhouses, the small plastic variety tend to get absolutely kippered when it comes to the bad weather. High winds can be a bit of a nightmare. Our garden took some damage fairly recently. Things like the currant bush over there got hit quite badly. But for the first time, for a long time, the greenhouse, or the plastic house, in fact both plastic houses, have survived the high winds. And I thought it might be an idea just to show you how and why we've achieved that for no cost really. And it also gives you a reasonably insulated floor to your greenhouse. There's a couple of varieties. I'll just give you a quick walk around. This is the one that we'll focus on. It's only going to be a short video because, let's face it, and this is all basic stuff, but this takes out a lot of trial and error for other people. And then there's this variety of base over here. As with most things I do, they're done with pallets. Now, pallets to an extent can be a free resource. It means they're very useful. And the wood itself is of a reasonable quality, and if you get a chance to treat it, it's even better. Now, I've got all sorts of stuff stacked up on here, but the idea of the floor for the greenhouse is purely and simply to give you something that's stable and has also got a bit of weight to it. So you want the more substantial type of pallet. Not the little single-sided things. You want the big, strong, double-sided, ideally with lots of timbers. Now, once you've scrounged a couple of pallets, and I say a couple of pallets, you're going to need enough pallets to make a floor area big enough to stand your greenhouse on, and you're going to need another pallet to be able to strip it down to fill the gaps in with. So for example here, you see this gap? Well, this gap's no use if you're trying to walk in and around your greenhouse. You're going to stick a toe through it, stick a heel through it, or drop a pot through it, and it's just, it's untenable. But this timber here can be removed. It takes a bit of patience. You pry it off. I use a small crowbar and a hammer, jam it in that crack, start levering the nail out a bit, and go up the other end, do the same, and then gently lever it out in the middle a bit. Takes a little while, but get that piece of wood off intact. Take that piece of wood and put it up to there. And then in a very short period of time, all these gaps will get filled in, and you've got a relatively level and solid floor. Okay? Good. That's really stage one. So, stage one, get some pallets. Try and get the right type of pallet. Now you'll see I've treated these. That isn't really necessary for the type of flooring we're making for the greenhouses, because let's face it, these type of greenhouses we've got over here, they're not going to last forever. If you can get 3-4 years out of one, all well and good. You can buy replacement covers for them. The metal frames are good condition, but I have a cunning plan anyway, but we'll come to that at a different stage. You can see that the manufacturers tend to change the pitch on the roofs. It just depends on which one you buy. But I have a mind to actually, when the plastic starts to deteriorate due to sunlight, and UV properties aren't great on this type of material, what I'm thinking of doing is replacing the cover completely with some more durable material. but we'll come to that as a separate video. Anyway, I digress. Back to the plan. The reason these ones are treated is because these are going to be walls for a potting shed. And you're all going, oh my god, it's going to look like a pig's ear. Well, it might do, but it will work as a potting shed, trust me. And the reason I'm treating these bits of wood in here now is because I can't get in there in the future to treat it, and any moisture getting in behind will give you a place where it will rot there. So these are going to be pre-treated, and then another treated plank like this going in place over the top, and that's my external wall then for part of the potting shed. But potting shed is not what we're doing now. What we're doing now is trying to sort out a base for a greenhouse. So, plan for the third time. Couple of pallets, 3 pallets, whatever you need, plus a spare. Take some of the wood from underneath, put that onto the top, nail it back down. If you take the nails out carefully, you can even reuse the nails, which is all good. Knock them in there, 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 gives you a solid base. So imagine we now have a solid base. If you don't want to go to all that trouble, and you've got some old pieces of MDF from some cabinets or shelving or anything like that, just put it straight over the top. You know, jigsaw it around. Nobody's going to see it, but you make sure it's firm. The main key of this whole thing is got to be nice and firm, good and solid, and strangely enough, the heavier the better. Now, back over here. Real time, no editing. In we go. A little clip down there, attached to the. I'll just do that again. Right, little clip down there. Just going to put you down for a second, folks. Won't be a sec. Hi, and right, where was I? Ah, yes, right. You can see on the floor in here, it's kind of like Hessian. Well, in fact, that's exactly what it is, really. It's the back of a carpet. Now, the reason I've used the back of the carpet is because it doesn't trap the dirt quite so easily. It's durable, and it doesn't really matter if it gets wet. It dries out fairly quickly. I mean, we're talking temperatures in here today of 78, which is pretty good. And what we've done here is we've put a couple of little cable ties on to stop these shelves getting knocked around or knocked off in the wind when they've got stuff on them. But let's get back to the carpet. Oh boy. There you go, buddy. Right, here I have the carpet. Now, once you've got your pallet clad either in bits of old MDF or a bit of hardboard, whatever it is to give you an even floor, the next stage is to basically take a piece of carpet, if you've got some, and cover your pallet. Now, this one isn't really big enough to do the job, but nevertheless you get the idea. In a perfect world, you want to be able to go underneath the pallet and nail it to the underside. Sorry about the dodging back and forth here. I'm sure my lovely wife will edit it to make it look better. As you can see, the Hessian goes around, or rather the carpet goes around and underneath the pallet. And that's pretty much on all sides. Now this is a fair sized plastic greenhouse. I know she's about 6 foot plus deep. So this was, I think, a 2 pallet floor. There again, doesn't have to be 1 rug, could be 2 rugs, can be anything you like really. The reason I've used this is good insulative properties, and it's hard wearing, and being a man-made fibre, it's pretty rot proof, and it'll certainly last a good few years. So once you've made your base, you've got your base stable, you've got your carpet around it, so basically you've now got a carpet encapsulated pallet or a couple of pallets. All you got to do is lift your greenhouse and drop it into position on it. Once you've done that, you have to consider the enemy of this greenhouse, and the enemy of this greenhouse is the wind. So what we've done is we've put a little threshold here, which is just a piece of pallet wood screwed down over the actual frame of the greenhouse, and we've achieved that by putting a piece of timber, just another piece of pallet wood along the front, raising it up to allow you to do this. So you've got a piece of pallet wood here, piece of pallet wood here, piece of pallet wood here, and the frame is now trapped in a channel. Now over the back there, I'll just zoom in on this, there are some small pieces of plywood which, yet again, have been placed over the top of the framework. This means the framework, whilst it's got a little bit of sideways movement, cannot be lifted up now unless it takes the weight of the pallets with it. And if it takes the weight of the pallets with it, I can say goodbye to my plastic shed, I can say goodbye to that greenhouse, I can say goodbye to these hen houses, I can say goodbye to my bins, I can say goodbye to, well, no, he's probably too heavy, but you know, if we get winds that high, things are going to disappear in a big way. Just out of interest, a greenhouse of this kind of size, or somewhere between this one and this one, literally disappeared a few years ago. The wind got underneath it and it was never seen again. Now the wind was probably no worse than we've had in the last few days, but I can only assume the greenhouse went that away somewhere, and for quite a way.